White people will not give the real reason that they don't support Black Lives Matter. White people agree with the statement or the phrase Black Lives Matter, but do not support Black Lives Matter as an organization or a movement. They might say that the reason they can't march, protest, wear a t-shirt, change their profile picture, put a bumper sticker on their car is because Black Lives Matter is a Marxist, anti-family organization. Now, that might actually be a good reason, but it's not the real reason. Now, I'll deal with these issues later on in the video, and you can also check their website if you need more information on that. So in this video, I'm going to summarize some of the real reasons white people use for not supporting Black Lives Matter, and then we'll also talk about why we don't talk about some of these issues later on in the video. This video is not to change anybody's mind or change their opinion. So like what Malcolm X said, if you want to change somebody's mind or their opinion, you need to have a face-to-face discussion. So I'm going to do my best to explain a complex situation as simply as possible. Since I am experiencing this life in a white package, I'm going to be explaining what I perceive as the way most white people think or what their opinion might be. Now, I don't speak for all white people, so keep that in mind, and you don't have to be white to agree with any of the things that I say on this video. All right, we got a lot to unpack, so buckle up. Here we go. All right. A reason a white person might not support Black Lives Matter is, why are we going to a march? What are we trying to accomplish when we go on this march? Whose mind are we trying to change? Everybody that a white person knows, generally speaking, already agrees Black Lives Matter. So what are we actually trying to accomplish? If we are trying to change the mind of a white supremacist using mostly peaceful protests, that's not going to change their mind. You're really just proving them correct. Another reason, if you look at the fruit of a BLM protest march, whatever it might be, it's not changed hearts. It's not mended relationships. It's burned buildings and death. It does not look like the people that are participating in these protests care about the welfare of the city that they're in at that moment. Hate doesn't drive out hate. It only multiplies it. Now, if we compare the marches riots in 2020 with those of the 1960s, one of those is going to change hearts and the other one is not. If you're for changing hearts, then why don't we hear more people condemning these violent outbursts during the riots? Instead, we hear silence or almost saying that it's okay for that to happen. Unless, of course, you disagree with the message, as we saw in early January. Is it Black Lives Matter or Black Deaths Matter? Specifically, deaths of black criminals by white policemen. And if it's black deaths, why don't we hear more about a girl that gets murdered right outside of Wendy's parking lot? Or David Dorn? Abortion? Gun violence? If Black Lives Matter is about police brutality, what is so wrong of making a stand when the brutality happens against somebody who happens to not be black, like Tony Timpa? It seems like the expectation is when it happens against a black person, all the white people are expected to show up, but if it happens against a white person, no, we're not going to show up for that. It's kind of hypocritical, is the way it seems. Has police brutality against black people been shown to be a big issue? Not saying it's not an issue. Is it a big issue? As opposed to family structure, inner city schools, K-12 choice, abortion, gun violence, riots versus black businesses, burning of black businesses. We hear a lot of emotionally charged language like genocide and hunted down. How bad is it? I mean, what's the point of reference? I mean, compared to breast cancer, heart disease, other things that might claim black lives. Now, here's some people, they'll show, a clip off the TV or something like that from the news. Even Malcolm X warned, hey, be careful of the news. They're trying to spin you a story. So for a lot of people, trustworthy is not an adjective they would use for the news. And if you're trying to offer some sort of evidence, percent of news stories that show one thing versus all news stories is not the type of information that we're really looking for. We're looking for like how much out of the total interactions are shown to be an issue. But we can save that topic for another video. Black Lives Matter brings in millions of dollars. What are they doing with all that money? In other words, do Black Lives matter to Black Lives Matter? Are they doing after-school programs to improve inner-city schools? Trying to help out with K-12 choice? Helping out with housing for black people, underrepresented groups? Helping to solve the problem of generational wealth and people having a lower starting point in life? Are they investing in black businesses, specifically the ones that were burned down by riots? They talk about defunding the police. Well, that leaves the most vulnerable people even more vulnerable. How about they invest some money into better training, more effective training for police? It seems that the solution for Black Lives Matter is to overthrow the government and the family because they are a Marxist and anti-family organization. Now, there's been plenty of videos already on YouTube about that. Officer Tatum or Brandon Tatum, he's done one on that. Sometimes it's good to partner with a group that you disagree with other things, but you have a common goal. But in this case here with Black Lives Matter, it seems that the goal is to overthrow the government and the family, and that's something that a lot of people struggle to partner with. We've identified a common problem, but the solution totally different. It does seem like Black Lives Matter is a political ploy. Now, if you look at search results for Black Lives Matter, and you look at the graph, you'll see a big spike in 2016 and another big spike in 2020. So it only really pops up during election cycles. Well, what about 2017, 2018, 2019? How many unarmed black people died there? Now, I tried looking it up. It's hard to find the real data. It's almost like you can find commentary, so they're telling you what to think, but they're not going to give you the actual numbers. It looked like it was about 80. Well, where was Black Lives Matter for those 80 people? About 80. What was going on? Do Black Lives only matter during election years? We hear sometimes where we'll say, we want justice for, and then somebody's name there. What does we want justice for, and then that person's name, what does that mean? What does that look like? Does that mean that the officer goes to jail? So after that we're done? What does that look like? Or are we trying to subvert due process and go with mob rule? There's a lot of white people that are going to struggle with that because back in the early days, that was used by KKK a lot. And so it makes a lot of white people uneasy when we try and go mob rule and get justice for somebody before due process has had a chance to actually do the process. So there's some reasons on why white people struggle to support Black Lives Matter. Now I just want to kind of transition to why this video is important, why it's needed, why these reasons haven't come up in conversations yet. When a white person is asked, can you march with me, protest with me, wear this t-shirt, change your Facebook profile picture, put a bumper sticker on, if that white person has any of these objections or other ones, basically their only reasonable option is to lie. What's the alternative? Bring up one of these objections or reasons, and now they're called a racist. So the white person has to come up with an excuse. My feet hurt. I'm allergic to that material. I lost my Facebook password. A white person would rather be caught in a lie than be called a white supremacist, a racist, or a bigot. White people feel like if they bring up one of these objections or reasons, then they're automatically going to be called a racist, which is worse than being called a liar. Now, I've been called a bigot before. I asked for clarification on a subject, part of a conversation, and well, I'm like, well, what about this over here? Well, just you asking that makes you a bigot. It's all like, wait a minute, I was looking for some clarification because I'm trying to gain understanding. Now, if you're African American, you kind of know what I'm talking about here. Because if you're going to open up to a white person about something that happened in your life, you know at best there's a 50-50 chance they're just going to try and explain it away. White people don't do that. They're not looking for you to explain away things that they went through as a human being. So white people already agree with the statement, Black Lives Matter. To them, it's more of a, well, duh, they do. Now, again, I don't speak for all white people, but BLM might be a poor acronym because it doesn't seem like an authentic movement to a white person. Now, I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I'm just saying it doesn't necessarily seem that way. The phrase Black Lives Matter and the movement or organization don't seem to mean the same thing to a white person. Maybe it just needs to be redefined. It seems to Black Lives Matter as an organization, the deaths of black criminals mean more than the destroyed lives or livelihood of black businesses and black people living in those communities. White people agree with the phrase Black Lives Matter because black people are humans. In other words, all lives matter. Now, white people, don't say all lives matter. It means something different to the person hearing it than the way you meant it. Maybe Brennan Tatum can do a video on that and give us a little input. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to try and describe it. So let's all pretend that we're at Thanksgiving and the pie is coming out. It's pie time, right? Apple pie, whatever it might be. Now, I did hear this from Glenn Beck, and I think he heard it from somebody else as well. So the server is going around giving everybody pie. Everybody's got pie except for you. And so you say, "Where's my pie? Can I have pie, please?" And the server responds with, "Yes, everybody's going to get pie." Well, can I please have pie? Yes, everybody's going to get pie. So to a Black Lives Matter person, that's what's going through their mind. So unless a lot of these objections or reasonings get explained, Black Lives Matter as an organization is going to struggle to get a lot of support from white people. The purpose of this video is just to share reasons. I'm not trying to offend. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm just trying to get these reasons out in the open so we can start talking about them. I'm not trying to prove anybody right, anybody wrong. I'm just trying to do the Ephesians 4:19, get everybody talking so that way as Americans we can all move forward together. Now, I may have missed some points and I may have misstated some things. I apologize about that. The video was just trying to get some reasons out there so that as Americans we can be moving forward. Thanks for watching.